Yes, people, welcome back to the channel Thai Sports. It's been a little while, really busy with work at the moment, but I want to be back now. December, start of the month fresh, and Phil Foden has come back fresh too. 2 goals at the weekend, saving Manchester City from a disastrous result at home to Leeds. It was a must-win game. Simple as that. Manchester City had to beat Leeds if they have any aspirations of challenging for that Premier League crown. And that was a big 3 points because when you look at it now, where Arsenal stumbled a little bit with the draw against Chelsea, where some people said with 10 men against 10, Chelsea could have won, or if Chelsea had 11 versus 11, Chelsea could have won. It shows that the performance of Arsenal was not great in a game that was really hyped up on the weekend and they had the numerical advantage. However, Man City did what they needed to do. And that's what it's about. When you're in the title race or when you're going for Premier League crowns or big trophies, you need to make sure that you take care of your own product first. Don't worry about the results at the other end. You can worry about that after you get your results. But look, Manchester City were tested on the weekend. They were 2-0 up, comfortable at halftime. And this is a Man City team that we all know. When Man City go ahead in games, 2-0, it's done. The way they keep the ball, the way they tick it around, the way teams are going to try and attack and press them, Man City will just pick you off of their passes and creativity. However, Leeds fought back, got a penalty, scored 3 Calvert-Lewin, and Man City had to dig deep. And they had all the big hitters on the pitch. They had Reinders, they had Doku, they had Foden, they had Marmoush, they had Haaland. Pep, whether he left it to the last minute to bring on Marmoush or whatever he did, he still had the big hitters on there. And to his capabilities, he could have used them earlier if he wanted to. But you know what Pep's like with his changes. However, it was Phil Foden that got him out of trouble again. And when I say again, I'm not talking like he's done it loads of times this season, but no, in the past, over the last 3-4 years, especially when he had that great season, Phil Foden has come up with the goods. He's great with his long ball striking. He's great with his finishing. And when he gets confidence, he just thrives off it. And he believes that he's the best player on the pitch. And what you saw against Leeds on the weekend, scoring in the first minute and scoring in the 90th minute, was Phil Foden doing what he does, scoring and winning games for the club that he loves. And you know what? I don't deal with this Phil Foden debate, Cole Palmer, Saka, this and that. I just enjoy footballers for footballers. Do you know what I mean? Cole Palmer's a very good player. Saka's a good player. Foden's a good player. I'm not here to sit and compare them. But what I am going to say is that Phil Foden is going to be integral for Manchester City now. In this period now, Phil Foden is needed because Erling Haaland has been scoring at an incredible rate this season. But there have been moments where you're looking at Erling Haaland and saying, yeah, he's a great footballer and his all-round game has improved, his link-up play, his hold-up play. He's getting better at that. I have to give him that. But it's not his fault. But if he's not scoring, you're then looking at Manchester City and saying, is there room for other people to chip in? Well, yes, there is room for other people to chip in. But are they chipping in? The answer is really no. You're looking at Man City and saying, if you stop Erling Haaland, then you stop Man City. And you look at it, Newcastle away from home, Aston Villa away from home where they had lost them games. And you were kind of thinking, okay, well, Man City are going to need more. Man City are going to need players to step up. And if you are going to look at anyone to step up, the first player you're going to look at is Phil Foden. Because when he had that season that he did 2 seasons ago, I believe it was now, you're thinking this is his moment. KDB's on the decline, getting older naturally. Phil Foden's going to step up now, be that mantelpiece of Man City, carrying them through with Erling Haaland. But last year was not great. We know that he had a dip mentally. We know that he weren't performing to the best of his capabilities. But so far this season, he seems to be on this upward curve. He seems to be finding his groove now, getting back in the England squad, starting for Manchester City consistently. And I think you need that. People don't realize the importance of being consistently playing football matches. I think when players are out for a long time or players are coming in off the bench and stuff like that, you expect them just to be the best version of themselves and saying, oh, he's flopping or he's not doing good enough and whatnot. I think it's hard because look at Man City. They rotated last week against Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League, 10 changes. It didn't work. Players are not got the chemistry. Players are not match fully fit, sharp. And also they're playing with like a chip on their shoulder in terms of like, well, I don't know when my next start's coming. I don't know when my next opportunity is coming. So I need to perform. So they overcompensate or they try and prove to Pep that they can be in the first team plans for the league and stuff. When really they should have just went out there and played their football and they probably would have beat Bayer Leverkusen. But the changes were made again on the weekend. Doku, Foden, and those type of players came back in. And Foden was the one that stood out. Foden was the one that said to Pep Guardiola, look, if you're going to chase Arsenal, me and Erling Haaland are going to be the 2 players in the attack that are going to be able to make that difference. And he made that difference. The first goal, Obviously scoring very early on. Perfect. Just what Manchester City needed. And he loves that. Going into the box and then dropping off. His ability to find space in tight areas, I have to say, is brilliant. Like his positional awareness is of the highest caliber. People don't really notice that because obviously a lot of people look at GA and stuff like that. But when you look at Foden, the way he scans, the way he screens, look at the second goal. In the 90th minute, in the first minute of 10 minutes added on, when Cherky gets the ball on the right-hand side, loads of players flood the box, expecting him to cut in on his left foot and then cross it in. Phil Foden on Match of the Day, they showed it. Scanning, scanning, scanning to look where he can find the space. And he literally peels back off and says, look, they've all sunk into the box. I'm here. I'm here. Give me the ball. And that's that little half a second, split second decision that gives City 3 points. His ability to create that little half a yard space as a number 10 sort of creative player, to get the ball, receive it, spin off onto back onto his left foot, dummy, and then lash it into the bottom corner. And I have to say, what a goal that was, because it wasn't easy. Gavardio jumps, very intelligent, and lets the ball go past him. But Phil Foden, to find that gap, to have the audacity to shoot in that tight area and believe in himself, what a finish. No keeper saving that. When it's 12, 15 yards out and it's lashed like that, no way. But it's little things like that that make Foden that elite player, you know, to find the space, to scan, to drop off when everyone's sinking into the box. Because what people don't realize is football's so emotional. Think when, you know, you're a fan and you're in the stadium, you want to score that goal. So do the players. They know it's 2-2. They've got a minute or 5 minutes to score a goal. So you're just trying to get into the most dangerous area. But sometimes you need that level of composure, that level of calmness, whether it's the first, 38th, 65th, or 90th minute, to separate yourself, to be the game changer, to be the difference. And that's exactly what Phil Foden provided for Manchester City on the weekend. And now look, it takes them 5 points behind Arsenal. I know there's still a long way to go. There's only 13 game weeks gone so far. There's still over 25 game weeks to play. But the way Arsenal are playing defensively, keeping clean sheets, and how solid they are with their squad, you're thinking it's Arsenal's leagues to lose. However, if there's one team that's going to be able to keep the pressure on and bring that momentum and can win 5, 6, 7 games in a row, it's Manchester City. It is Manchester City. And Phil Foden is going to be an integral part of that now. Him and Haaland. Fulham away on Tuesday. Sunderland at home. They then play Real Madrid away in the Bernabeu, but they should be fine in the Champions League. So that's not a knockout game. And then you've got Crystal Palace away and then West Ham at home. You're looking at them games, and I think on paper, Fulham win, Sunderland at home win, Crystal Palace away could be a draw. West Ham at home in the league, by the way, they're the league games. You're looking at Man City and saying, right, you could win 4 of them. Man United went to Palace and won on the weekend, so they could win 4 of them. And Palace will come back from a Europa League game where their record's not great after a Thursday. So you're looking at Man City and saying they can keep the pressure up with Arsenal heading into that Christmas period. And that is going to be such a vital period. We're going to see what Arsenal are made of. Of course, Gabriel Saliba are out against Chelsea. They got a draw. Not a bad result in the grand scheme of things. However, it does give City 2 points that they've gained on them over the weekend. But I am saying now that Phil Foden and that little moment of genius in the first half and in the second half was the separation of winning that game for Manchester City. And they now need to keep him fit. They need to keep him playing consistently because he needs rhythm. Any player in that sort of attacking position or the position where you have a lot of pressure on you, which is a Phil Foden, you need to be playing consistently. And he's now getting that under Pep Guardiola. And I feel like Pep Guardiola knows how important he's going to be alongside Erling Haaland. So the Phil Foden hype is coming. The train is on a roll. Can he keep it up? Guys, we will find out. Midweek Premier League football action is back. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you on the other side. Bless up.